I was 28 years old when my family decided I no longer existed, not because I stole from them, not because I lied, not because I hurt anyone. No, my crime was falling in love, and according to them, I fell in love with the wrong man. The day I told my parents I was marrying Marcus Johnson, my mother looked at me like I'd just confessed to a murder. Marcus sat beside me at their dining room table, calm and respectful as always. He wore a pressed navy shirt. His hands rested quietly in his lap. He called my father Sir. He answered every question politely. But none of that mattered. The only thing my family saw was that Marcus was black. My father didn't even try to hide it. He stood up from the table and pointed toward the front door. "You can leave now." The room went silent. Marcus looked at me. I looked at my father. "Dad." I said, "Leave." My mother started crying. My younger brother, Ethan, stared at his plate. Nobody said a word. Finally, Marcus stood. "Come on, Sarah." I stood too. My legs felt weak. I kept waiting for someone to stop us, for someone to say this was all a misunderstanding, for my mother to hug me, for my father to calm down. But nobody moved. Nobody stopped us. Nobody fought for me. As we reached the front door, my father delivered the words that would change the next decade of my life. "If you marry him, don't come back." I froze. "Dad?" "You heard me." His face was stone cold. "You won't be my daughter anymore." The door closed behind us, and just like that, my family was gone. 3 months later, Marcus and I got married. It wasn't the wedding I'd dreamed about growing up. There was no father walking me down the aisle, no mother helping me into my dress, no family photos, no relatives, no childhood friends. Just Marcus, his parents, a few close friends, and a small church outside Charlotte. But honestly, it was one of the happiest days of my life, because while my family abandoned me, Marcus never did. Not once. Not ever. After the ceremony, his mother hugged me and whispered something I'll never forget. "You didn't lose a family today. You gained one." I cried right there in her arms, because deep down, I knew she meant it. The first year wasn't easy, not even close. My parents blocked my number. My brother ignored every message. Christmas came and went. Nothing. Thanksgiving? Nothing. Birthdays? Nothing. It felt like I'd died and nobody told me. Then life got harder. Marcus lost his job during company downsizing. A week later, my old car died. Our savings disappeared almost overnight. Real life, real struggles, the kind nobody posts about online. One evening, I found Marcus sitting alone on our apartment balcony. His head was lowered. I could tell something was bothering him. "What is it?" I asked. He forced a smile. "Nothing." I sat beside him. "That's a lie." He sighed. "I hate that you're going through this because of me." My heart broke. "Marcus, if you'd married someone else—" I grabbed his hand immediately. "Don't." He looked away. "You would have still had your family." I squeezed his hand tighter. "And I wouldn't have had you." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he laughed softly. "You always know what to say." "No," I smiled. "I just know what's true." That night, we made a promise. No matter what happened, we'd keep moving forward, together. Years passed, slowly, painfully, one step at a time. Marcus found another job, then a better one, then an even better one. Eventually, he joined a small technology startup founded by 3 college friends. Nobody thought much of it, including Marcus. The company operated from a cramped office above an auto repair shop. Their chairs didn't match. Their computers were outdated. Half the employees worked on folding tables. But Marcus loved it. He believed in the vision, so he worked harder than anyone else. Late nights, weekends, holidays, whatever it took. Meanwhile, I built my own career in healthcare administration. Nothing glamorous, just honest work, long hours, steady income. Together, we slowly built a life. Not rich, not flashy, just stable. And after everything we'd survived, that felt like a blessing. 9 years passed. 9 years. No calls from my family, no birthday cards, no apologies, nothing. Then, one Tuesday morning, everything changed. I was making coffee before work when Marcus walked into the kitchen holding his phone. He looked pale, really pale. What happened? He stared at me. The company. What about it? He swallowed hard. They're going public. For a second, I didn't understand. Then my eyes widened. Oh my God. He nodded slowly. Oh my God. The startup he'd joined 9 years ago had exploded. New investors, massive growth, national contracts, and now an IPO. The numbers were unbelievable. Generational wealth. Marcus owned stock, a lot of stock, enough that when the company officially went public, everything changed overnight. Everything. 3 weeks later, financial reporters were calling, business magazines wanted interviews, industry blogs published articles about the company. People who had never spoken to us before suddenly wanted introductions. Everyone wanted something. But nobody shocked me more than the phone call that arrived on a rainy Thursday afternoon. A number I hadn't seen in nearly a decade appeared on my screen. For a moment, I thought I was imagining it. My hands started shaking. I stared at the name. Mom. 9 years. 9 years of silence, and suddenly she was calling. I answered. Slowly. Hello? Silence. Then a voice I hadn't heard in nearly a decade. Sarah? My chest tightened. Mom. Her voice cracked immediately. Oh, sweetheart. The word sweetheart hit me like a punch, because for 9 years I hadn't been sweetheart. I'd been nothing. And now suddenly I was sweetheart again. Something wasn't right. Something felt off. Very off. Then she asked the question that confirmed my worst suspicion. How is Marcus doing? I closed my eyes. There it was. Not, how are you? Not, I miss you. Not, I'm sorry. Marcus, the company, the money. For the first time in 9 years, my family remembered I existed. And deep down, I had a feeling this phone call was only the beginning. The first thing I noticed wasn't her voice. It was her tone. 9 years earlier, my mother's voice had been cold enough to freeze a room. Now it sounded soft, careful, almost nervous, like she was afraid I might hang up. And honestly, part of me wanted to. But another part wanted answers. Answers I'd been waiting nearly a decade to hear. So I stayed silent. Eventually, she spoke again. Sarah, I've missed you. The words should have meant something. They should have healed something. Instead, they felt hollow, like a line rehearsed in front of a mirror. I leaned against the kitchen counter. 9 years is a long time, Mom. Silence. Then a shaky sigh. I know. No, she didn't know. She didn't know what it felt like to spend holidays staring at an empty phone. She didn't know what it felt like to lose your entire family overnight. She didn't know what it felt like watching everyone else post Christmas photos while your own parents acted like you were dead. She didn't know, because she had made the choice, not me. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she carefully changed the subject. Your father isn't doing well. There it was, the real reason. I knew it. Every instinct in my body knew it. What's wrong with him? Heart problems. I felt a small stab of concern. No matter what he'd done, he was still my father. She continued, The doctors say he needs surgery. I nodded slowly. I'm sorry to hear that. Another pause. Then came the question she had really called to ask. Would you and Marcus come visit? I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. 9 years, not one birthday, not one holiday, not one apology, and now suddenly I was invited back. The timing couldn't have been more obvious. Marcus's company had just gone public. Everyone knew. The news was everywhere. I finally asked the question, why now? My mother hesitated. Too long, way too long, and that hesitation told me everything. Mom, we just want to reconnect. There it was again, that careful wording, reconnect, not apologize, not make things right, reconnect, as if we'd simply drifted apart, as if they hadn't thrown me away. I took a deep breath. I'll think about it. Then I ended the call. That evening, Marcus listened quietly while I told him everything. We sat on our back porch watching the sunset, something we'd done together for years. He didn't interrupt, didn't judge, didn't tell me what to do. He never did. When I finished, he asked one simple question. What do you want? I stared into the distance. I don't know. And that was the truth. Part of me hated them. Part of me missed them. Part of me wanted closure. Part of me wanted revenge. 9 years creates a lot of complicated emotions. Marcus nodded slowly. Then don't rush. I looked at him. What would you do? He smiled. I'm not the one who was hurt. That was Marcus. Always steady, always wise, always putting my feelings first, which only made me love him more. 3 days later, another call came. This time, it wasn't Mom. It was Ethan, my younger brother, the same brother who hadn't spoken to me in nearly a decade. I almost didn't answer. Almost, but curiosity won. Hello? Sarah? His voice sounded older, heavier, like life had hit him harder than expected. Ethan? For a moment, neither of us knew what to say. Then he laughed awkwardly. This is weird. You think? He sighed. Fair point. At least he was honest. That was new. Growing up, Ethan had always followed our parents. Whatever they thought, he thought. Whatever they believed, he believed, including when they cut me out. Eventually, he cleared his throat. Mom said she called. She did. Another pause. Then he surprised me. She's scared. I frowned. Scared of what? Dad's condition. That sounded genuine. Maybe too genuine. I couldn't tell. Then he added something unexpected. And she's scared you'll never forgive us. My chest tightened, because for the first time, someone had actually admitted wrongdoing. Us, not you. Us. I didn't respond. Ethan continued. We messed up, Sarah. The words hit harder than I expected. 9 years. 9 years waiting for someone to say that. We messed up. Simple, honest, painfully overdue, but still important. I swallowed hard. Why now? His answer came immediately, because he already knew what I meant. You're thinking it's about the money. I stayed silent, because it absolutely was. He sighed. I don't blame you. Interesting, very interesting. Then he said something that made my stomach turn. Honestly, some of the family probably are. There it was, the truth, finally, raw and ugly, the truth. Over the next week, more calls arrived. Aunts, uncles, cousins, people who hadn't remembered my existence for nearly a decade. Suddenly, everyone wanted to reconnect. Everyone wanted lunch. Everyone wanted coffee. Everyone wanted to catch up. Funny how success works. When you're struggling, nobody answers. When you're thriving, everybody remembers your number. Marcus noticed it too. One evening, he walked into the living room when he found me staring at my phone. Another cousin? I laughed. Third one today. He shook his head. That's wild. Tell me about it. Then we both laughed, but underneath the laughter, something hurt, because deep down I knew the truth. If Marcus hadn't become successful, those calls would never have happened. Not one. A month later, we finally agreed to visit, not because we trusted them, not because everything was forgiven, because I needed closure. I needed to see them, needed answers, needed peace. When our car turned onto the street where I'd grown up, my heart started racing. Nothing had changed. The same houses, the same trees, the same sidewalks. But somehow, everything felt different, because I wasn't the same person anymore. The frightened daughter who left that house 9 years ago was gone. Life had changed her. Pain had changed her. Love had changed her. Success had changed her. Marcus reached over and squeezed my hand. You okay? I nodded. Not really. He smiled softly. Me neither. That made me laugh, and somehow that helped. When we pulled into the driveway, several cars were already parked outside. More than I expected. Way more. A bad feeling settled in my stomach. I looked at Marcus. He looked at me. Neither of us said a word, because we were both thinking the same thing. This wasn't just a family visit. This was something else, something bigger. And judging by the number of relatives waiting inside that house, I had a feeling things were about to get very interesting. The moment I stepped through my parents' front door, every conversation stopped. Every head turned. Every eye locked onto me, then onto Marcus. The room was packed. Aunts, uncles, cousins, relatives I hadn't seen in almost a decade. The same people who disappeared from my life overnight. Now, suddenly, they were all smiles. My Aunt Linda rushed forward first. "Oh my goodness, Sarah!" Before I could react, she wrapped me in a hug I hadn't received in 9 years, a hug that felt completely fake. "It's so wonderful to see you." I forced a polite smile. "You too." Marcus stayed beside me, quietly observing, the same way he always did. And judging by the look in his eyes, he saw exactly what I saw. None of this felt genuine, not even a little. My mother appeared moments later. The second she saw me, tears filled her eyes. Real tears, at least I think they were. She pulled me into a long embrace. For a brief second, I almost hugged her back the way I used to. Almost. Then I remembered 9 birthdays, 9 Christmas mornings, 9 years of silence. My arms remained stiff. Her face fell slightly. Maybe she realized things couldn't be fixed with a single hug. Maybe, for the first time, she understood what she'd done. Either way, the damage was done. Then my father entered the room, and suddenly everything else disappeared. Time seemed to stop. 9 years. 9 years since I'd last seen him. He looked older, much older. His hair was mostly gray now. His shoulders weren't as broad. His face looked tired, fragile. For a moment, I didn't see the man who had disowned me. I saw an aging father, a sick father, a human being. His eyes met mine. Then something happened I never expected. He looked away first. Not me. Him. The strongest man I'd ever known couldn't hold my gaze. That told me more than words ever could. He felt shame. Dinner was awkward. Painfully awkward. Everyone tried acting like we were one big happy family. Nobody mentioned the past. Nobody mentioned what happened. Nobody mentioned why I'd disappeared for nearly a decade. They talked about weather, sports, politics, neighborhood gossip, anything except the truth. Finally, I got tired of it. I set down my fork. The room went quiet. Can we stop pretending? Every face froze. I looked around the table. 9 years. Silence. You all ignored me for 9 years. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. So let's stop acting like nothing happened. The room became so quiet you could hear a clock ticking somewhere in the house. Then my father slowly stood up. For a moment, I thought he was angry. Instead, his voice broke. I was wrong. Nobody expected it, especially me. I was wrong. The words echoed through the room. My father swallowed hard. I was proud. His eyes filled with tears. I was stubborn. Another pause. I chose my prejudice over my daughter. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. My father looked directly at Marcus, the man he'd rejected all those years ago. I judged you without knowing you. Marcus remained silent, listening. My father continued, and I lost 9 years because of it. My mother started crying. My brother lowered his head. Several relatives looked uncomfortable. Good, they should have. Then my father did something that shocked everyone. He walked around the table, stopped in front of Marcus, and extended his hand. I am sorry. Not a weak apology, not an excuse, not a justification. An apology. Simple, direct, real. Marcus stared at him for several seconds. Then he stood and shook his hand. The entire room exhaled, as if everyone had been holding their breath for years. But that wasn't the end, not even close, because after dinner, the real reason for the gathering finally emerged. My cousin Mark cornered me near the kitchen. So, here we go. I knew that tone. The company did pretty well, huh? There it was. Money. I smiled politely. It's doing okay. His eyes widened. Okay, Sarah, everybody knows you guys are loaded. Loaded. Interesting choice of words. Within 30 minutes, more relatives joined the conversation, then more and more. Investment questions, business questions, financial questions. The same people who ignored me for nearly a decade suddenly wanted advice, opportunities, connections, introductions. Exactly what I feared. Marcus noticed too. So did my father, and judging by the look on his face, he hated it. Later that evening, my father asked me to sit with him on the back porch, just the two of us. The same porch where he'd taught me how to ride a bike, the same porch where we'd watched storms together, the same porch where everything fell apart 9 years ago. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then he finally broke the silence. They think I invited you because of money. I looked at him. Did you? His eyes immediately filled with tears. No. The answer came too fast, too honestly, too painfully. No. For the first time all night, I believed him. He stared into the darkness. Because I'm dying. The words hit me like a truck. What? The surgery isn't guaranteed. My chest tightened. Dad, I needed to see you. His voice cracked. I needed one chance to tell you I was wrong. Tears rolled down his face. I was so damn wrong. I hadn't seen my father cry since I was a little girl. Now he couldn't stop. I missed everything. His voice broke completely. Your wedding. Another tear. Your birthdays. Another. Your life. I couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't think, because for the first time in nearly a decade, I saw genuine regret. Not pride, not anger, not excuses. Regret. Pure regret. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and handed me an envelope. What is this? Open it. Inside was a document, a legal document. I looked closer. Then my eyes widened. It was his will, and beside my name was everything. The house, the land, the savings, everything. Dad, he shook his head. Your brother knows. What? He agreed. I stared at him, completely stunned. Why? My father's answer changed everything. Because Ethan told me something I'll never forget. My father smiled sadly. He said, the child I abandoned turned out to be the best person in the family. The The tears I'd been fighting all night finally broke free. 3 months later, my father underwent surgery, and against all odds, he survived. The recovery was long, painful, but he survived. For the first time in years, our family slowly started rebuilding. Not perfectly, not overnight. Trust takes time. Healing takes time. But it happened. One conversation at a time, one apology at a time, one act of forgiveness at a time. And the relatives who only cared about money, they eventually disappeared again. Once they realized there were no handouts, no investments, no special favors, they vanished. Honestly, that was fine. Because family isn't about blood, it's about loyalty, love, respect, and showing up when it matters. Marcus taught me that. His parents taught me that. Life taught me that. A year later, we hosted Thanksgiving at our house. My parents came, my brother came, Marcus's family came. Everyone sat together, laughing, sharing stories, making memories. At one point, I looked around the room and realized something. 9 years ago, my family had rejected the man I loved because of the color of his skin. Now, that same man sat at the head of the table, loved by everyone, respected by everyone, holding our family together. The irony wasn't lost on me. Neither was the lesson, because sometimes the people who throw you away aren't your ending. They're simply part of your beginning. And sometimes the family that forgets you becomes the family that spends the rest of their lives trying to earn their way back. The end.